Hi everyone, Prof. Gordon here from Exam Success. We're going to go through a couple of T-bill examples for yield and price. So in this first example, we are calculating the yield for a 92-day Canadian T-bill that's issued at a price of 99.275. So we can use the formula. The formula is the bond equivalent yield. So this is going to be 100 minus the purchase price over the purchase price times 365 days in a year divided by N. N is the number of days to maturity in the T-bill. So we can follow through and fill this in from our information. We've got 100 minus 99.275 over 99.275. This part forms the holding period return for the T-bill. And now if we multiply this by 365 divided by 92 days, we're going to annualize it. So we end up with this yield for the T-bill of 2.896%. Nice and easy. We could use a calculator if you want. And using the financial calculator, we've got the future value is 100. We've got the present value is 99.275. But you're going to want to enter that as a negative number. Otherwise, you're going to get an error on your calculator. Unless you're using an HP calculator, the Hewlett Packards are smart. They know inflows and outflows. But if you're using other calculators, Sharp or TI, you've got to enter it as a negative number. Then the time period, that's going to be 92 days divided by 365 days. So that's 0.25205. The payment is zero. T-bills issued at a discount. They do not pay any interest. They mature at par. We'll solve for the interest rate, and there it is, 2.92. I mean, this is very close to using the formula. So you can choose which method works for you. I always like using the formula because in this case, I think it's easy to remember. Okay, now let's switch over to calculating the price of a T-bill. So we've got a 182-day Canadian T-bill that has a yield of 3%. So let's use the formula here and we'll plug in all the information and we'll solve for price. So the yield is 3%, 100 minus the price divided by the price. We don't know what that is. Multiplied by 365 divided by 182. There it is. I filled it all in. So step one, let's convert this percentage to a decimal. So that's 0.03. Now let's do the math on this side. 365 divided by 182, that's 2.00549. Now let's divide both sides by 2.00549. And this way we will get rid of this fraction over here. That becomes 1, so it disappears. And now we can solve for this amount over here. It's 0.01496. So now what we need to do is isolate P. So we're going to multiply this side by P. If I multiply by P, that's going to get rid of the P on the bottom here. And we're left with 100 minus P. Well, if I multiply this side of the equal sign by P, I have to multiply this side by P. So P, there it is, multiply by P. Now, the next thing is we're going to have to add P to both sides. If I add P to this side, it's just going to disappear. If I add a P to this side, well, now we've gone from 0.01496P to 1.01496P. We've added 1P, and this is equal to 100. Now we're going to isolate P just by dividing by 1.01496. We'll do that on both sides. And we end up isolating P and we get the price. The price of this T-bill, 98.52605. There it is, using the formula. If we want to use the calculator, it's a little more complicated. We'll enter the future value as 100. We'll enter the interest rate. We've got to adjust this now for the time period. This is the tricky part. We had a 3% yield. We've got to adjust this for 182 days out of 365. So we'll enter 1.4958 9 as our interest. We'll have one period. That's it. This is the tricky part, adjusting the interest and the holding period. Then payments are zero, and we will solve for present value. You get a negative number. Okay, that means outflow. We pay $98.52. So 98.526106. I mean, these numbers are very close. So again, you can use the formula, you can use your calculator, either one, whichever one you're comfortable with. In this case, I like going to the formulas. It's a little bit easier for me, and it's just ingrained in my brain there. Okay, I hope you found this helpful, and we'll end the lesson here.